What's up, Zox fam? We are back with some more Sword of Convallaria, and I'm actually extremely excited because we are literally weeks away from the global release on July 31st. Now, we're going to be dabbling into a lot. How exactly are we going to be covering Sword of Convallaria on the channel? We're going to be talking about, obviously, the global release. And I also want to give my thoughts and opinions as to what I feel like is going to help the game be as successful as possible. And on top of that, I also want to give some words of encouragement to the developers, considering at this point, I feel like I am kind of a gacha guru, okay? So, of course, first things first, I want to introduce myself. If you are here on the channel for the first time, I'm Zoxaskun, but you guys can call me Zox if that makes your life easier. I am obviously a Sword of Convallaria player. I am a day one TW player, CBT player. I was not, unfortunately, able to play the final CBT. I had a lot of other things going on, and I also do cover other channels for those of you guys that don't know. But I've done every other beta, every other tech, and I've even done localization on the game. So yes, I've sat on this game, found bugs, and translated. And yeah, that was just something that I just wanted to do, just because there was no like payment or anything. That was just because I genuinely believe in this project, and I have for obviously since this game has been talked about and pushed back multiple times. So I'm just excited that we are actually going to be getting a release of this game, because again, this game is it's just an amazing game. I cannot stress or emphasize how well done this game and really just how well made this game is. I think they've done an extremely good job with just putting together a nostalgic game that still plays and ties into, I would say, creating its own identity, right? And that's something that I think is really hard to do nowadays, where there's a lot of copy pasta, and that's just one of the big elements that I think that they're bringing to the table and that people are genuinely going to enjoy. Now, as far as how we're going to actually be covering this game on the channel, main thing, right? We're going to be trying to keep a lot of things global side, because there is going to possibly be a lot of differences when we're talking about release schedule, even down to, like, again, the units like order, right? Like, so we have like no idea. It could be somewhat similar. Like, for example, I think the beginning is somewhat similar, but like when you're talking about, like, you know, a month from now, 2 months from now, we don't exactly know 100% what that's going to be. So I'm not going to emphasize or harp too much on, hey, TW had this. But what I am going to do is, of course, using that as a reference so you guys can kind of have foresight or an idea of potential characters that you might want to save for. Also, moving from here on out, we are going to be covering things TW side so that you guys have an idea of what potential events that we might get, as well as potential units that will be coming into the game, and just kind of talking about how those units have affected that side. Because again, there is going to be the TW to global variation and how things are going to obviously shift and or, you know, be affected. Again, how I would say one market plays the game versus another market could vastly be different. I mean, we see this in a lot of different games. I obviously cover games like Weather and Waves, for example, as well as other games like Zenless Zone Zero is another one, Versus, and there's a lot of different games that I play, but each region has different builds, different ways that they play characters, and so we'll assume that that probably will be the way that it's going to probably transpire in global. There's going to be global players who are excellent players at this game, and they're going to find different things that maybe even the TW side hasn't found yet. So it is something that is possible, but just kind of keeping an open mind that there is going to be a lot of variations of content. So just kind of creating that expectation. Now, with this channel, I do want to keep it on the nostalgic side. So if we have any future games to come to this channel, it will be within the spectrum of what I feel like we can all find a commonality and just kind of generally like. Obviously, the main focus of this channel is going to be Sword of Convallaria, and I really hope that we can continue to grow and just have a lot of fun with this game. Now, of course, with that being said, obviously, just to touch on some of the things that's happening for the global release, okay? We all know that the milestones or the mileage, we already accomplished that, right? So coming into the game, if we take a look here, we have the registration stuff. So you can still register on the website, also on the Google Play, Steam. You can also register or wishlist over there. But they only set their milestone for 2 million pre-registrations. Again, I think that they honestly could shoot for more if they really chose to, but I think that that's a safe number, a more realistic and a more honest number. I see some games release numbers and I'm like, I know there's no way they hit that number, given the type of game it is. So yeah, we're getting some summons as well as a Lusium coin, which is just basically gold, and some common EXP. Again, these are all resources you're going to grind a crazy amount of. I think a lot of people are also probably going to wonder like, hey, like, you know, what is the currencies and things going to look like? I will say when it comes down to like those types of resources, the events, the very first event is probably going to be one of the most important events for helping you power up your account. So with that being like the case, these are just some extra incentives, you know, just for us pre-registering. The biggest thing here is obviously the summons. Okay, so that's the big thing. We get an extra 10 because we hit the milestone. So hey, listen, I'm going to take those summons because they're massive, right? Now, the other thing is too, we're going to obviously have some tier lists and things of that nature. And I really want the tier list to be a little bit more about understanding the value of units versus it just being directly about how strong a unit is, because there are units in certain situations that will become a lot more powerful and even at certain points in the game become more valuable to you. And the cool thing about this game is that it's not just the SSR units that are good, but the SR units are good. And they're actually, I think it's like maybe a couple of different R's that aren't too bad, but for the most part, our SRs and SSRs are going to be the main things that you invest in. But nonetheless, you're going to get a lot of value, right? So that's just how that kind of goes. Now, the main thing too is basically for me, considering that I've been able to see the development of the game on the TW side, seeing what they were willing to and the feedback that they were willing to take for the global side, I would say some of the big things that I really want to emphasize for this game to be successful is one, communication. Okay, I think that this is going to be one of the biggest things that we need in order for this game to be successful. No matter how big the game ends up being, I think the most important thing is that as you get that rush of new players coming in, you have to communicate. You have to be transparent and you have to be honest, okay? I think tackling issues directly head on is going to be one of the most beneficial things for this game, for the community, and letting us know that you guys are working on something. Even if it's not finalized, it doesn't have to be finished, even if you don't have the finalized answer, but at least acknowledging if there are any issues that come up that, hey, we are working on it. We're in the works trying to figure this out. This is this, right? I think the other thing is too, is understanding that generosity is not going to hurt your game. I would say coming from games like Wuthering Waves, where they literally have changed the standard for gachas recently. And I would even argue for that kind of gacha game, it tends to be a little bit more stingier than like, you know, this, I would say, right? Now, I will argue that a lot of things, if not most characters in this game are grindable, right? So when we're talking about grinding dupes, I should say, let me actually clarify that. When we're talking about grinding duplicates of characters, that is something that you can grind. So with time, you are going to be able to make your account much stronger or make your units that you are investing in much stronger. But I do get that there are going to be, you know, the initial impressions that are going to essentially happen when people first jump in. How much and how often can I summon? There's a reason why games like Xenozone Zero, it's like, hey, we got 100 summons to give you. You know, they did the 5-star selector on Wuthering Waves and then had the banner that allowed you to also get a random 5-star. So these things do matter quite a bit to global players. And I think that is also important to understand that you're operating in a completely different market, right? So it's not all about just continuously giving, but it's just understanding that when you show your players that you value them, they will value your game. They'll be more willing to invest money into the game because they see that there's some sort of long-term, you know, basically investment worthwhile investing in, right? So that's just my whole spill on that. Again, I really will say, like, for this account, I actually have not spent on my TW account. I'm actually not even able to, because again, I'm, you know, obviously not in TW, but that is besides the point. You know, just my entire perspective with the game is that, yes, it is 100% 100% free to play, but that is going to be something that is more of a matter of the time the time investment, right? Like, so if you are one of those players that you find that you end up liking this game, then yes, by all means, you're definitely going to want to put that time in. But I actually think that with this game, the time is worthwhile, right? And that's just my personal opinion. But all in all and through, I think that, again, for the global release of the game, that's going to be like the number one thing: communication. The other thing that I think we absolutely need, I don't know what you guys' budget is or like what exactly you guys have planned 100% for the global release, but marketing is going to be the biggest thing. Okay, I feel like there are companies, for example, like Kuro Games, the company that made Punishing Gray Raven, Wuthering Waves. For those of you guys that don't know, the predecessor game, one of the biggest things and W's that they decided to do that helped shift a lot for them was that they actually invested more into the marketing of the game. Word of mouth is very powerful, yes, but actual visibility, whether it be through ads or having other, like other companies, game press companies, put out articles, those things are going to be so important to people actually realizing that this game is a game. And the reason why that is because if they don't know that this game exists, then it's going to be much harder for them to obviously bring players in because they just don't know the game exists. And that's one thing that I've seen a lot of games just completely not do well, is just because a lot of people just don't know the game is actually a game. And so I feel like for this game to have a fair chance to be successful, it definitely needs and deserves the marketing. Now, obviously, if the game goes well for the release, then we're obviously going to be hyping it up. But I think that it goes to say that the company definitely has to put that strong foot forward to making sure that they're getting some marketing done for the game. It's just going to make things much smoother and honestly, like I said, bring in more players. Now, I will say, just in full transparency, this is a much more niche game, right? I think that this is a game that's safe to say that it's definitely going to reel in a very specific audience, and a lot of it is going to be us OGs that truly like these styles or types of games, right? So I think that that's something that is kind of like already going to be a thing that we're just kind of up against. But I also think that, to be fair, there is certain aspects that could make this game generally more likable, and what I would say would also potentially bring in players that might have not ever experienced this genre before. So that's basically going to be my entire spiel on what I feel like is going to help this game out significantly. Like I said, guys, we have a pretty long road ahead of us. I'm very excited. Again, like I mentioned, glad to, again, see you guys on this video, hopefully in the comment section, and just glad to be back creating on this channel. Finally, the game is coming. So with the global release, guys, we're going to have, like I said, just kind of keeping an eye out on like other things. So I'll be uploading on different things that they're uploading on and just kind of talking about to help you guys prep and prepare for the global release. But do expect some pretty intense videos. All right. So that's going to be basically that, guys. Everyone stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.